them into libraries, and then you use the pieces and props and place them into the world, because we do a lot of instancing, so you use it once and you replicate it, and you can change it and scale it and resurface it with a different texture. And in memory, you use it only once, but if you're building the whole damn thing in a modeling tool and then porting it in, you're probably going to run it 1 or 2 frames a second. We've actually had we had a lot of problems with that particular issue in Asia, and Japan in general, where building entire level sets is the way their grandfathers made games, and it's the way their fathers made games, and damn it, that's the way they're going to make games. And they suffered a lot where they were building these level sets and calling us up saying, oh, it's running 1 frame a second. And we send our guy to Japan, and one of our guys would go and bust the level up and do it the way it's supposed to be done, and it would run it 70 frames a second. And they say, see, and we did that 3 times before they finally caught on. It's like, you gotta, this generation has changed the way games are made. You gotta go with the flow. And as a middleware vendor, you need to embrace the approach of the middleware and the way they say that your best path to success. Otherwise, you'll be an uphill battle, you'll be fighting it the whole way, and you won't get the most out of your middleware dollar. We had a few other lessons along the way. Let's see what they are. Many games share a lot of the same development problems. It's a great community. We all know each other. I've seen yesterday that we all are social and friendly and like to hang out together. And we also like to help each other. What we found on a global scale is that the development community, while we're all working on projects that are competitive, we all like to help each other because the tide that rises raises all boats. So if you have a problem, seek the advice of a developer that may have done this before. Either through, if you're an Unreal Engine licensee, you can use our support forums. Ask us, we're happy to help. Generally, if you ask a question, most of the licensees that are on Unreal Developers Network will help you out. But even if it's in another package, if you've licensed Havoc or if you've licensed anything else, ask them. Ask another developer what they did to solve. I'm guaranteed that you'll get a positive answer. It's highly unlikely that they're just going to say, shut up, go away. Test your features online on all platforms to prevent problems. So if you're developing a multi-platform game and you've got it cranking on the PC, don't just think that it's going to crank on the network-wide side. Don't think it's just going to crank on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. Each of those have very different methods in the way their networks work. You want to make sure that you're dumping down and testing early the network functionality, because if you don't, it's going to be one of those things that kicks you out of cert or prevents you from going into cert with your products. Test that stuff early. Test that stuff often. Implement critical path features yourself. It's really important. If at any point in time a middleware vendor you're looking at their roadmap and they say, I don't know, you need function X, and on their roadmap function X is out here. But if it's absolutely critical path to your software, develop it yourself. Don't rely on that it'll come out in time. We all develop software, and we all understand that everything always slips. That's just the way it is. We're creating new magic. And sometimes the answers to the solves to that magic is unknown, and the time frames that it takes to figure out to achieve those and solve those problems are also unknown. It's the same thing for a middleware vendor. So if you've got some critical gating feature that you absolutely must have for your project, and it should be part of the middleware package, but it's on their timeline, do it yourself. If the vendor later adds the feature, you can always consider the merge costs versus just keeping either merging it what they've done in and kicking what you've done out, or the merge cost of just leaving your stuff in. Finally, always optimize your content, then optimize your code, because it's likely that if you hit a slow code path, it's highly likely that it's going to be the content versus the code, because in this generation, we all want to throw as much as we can on the screen. Eye candy is God to the consumer. So, and these projects are always raising the bar on what that eye candy is. But if you throw too much at the screen, it's really going to slow things down. So when you hit those slow patches, you want to look at your debugging tools and your profilers and search through the content first. I'm not saying that it's not possible that the code could use optimizing, but generally what we found is that it's the content that hits it first. So now, I would like to bring up who's going to give you the licensing experiences using Unreal Engine, both good and bad, hopefully more good than bad. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to take it like a big boy. Not like that.
Alrighty, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our experience with the Unreal Engine at 2K Australia. I'm going to touch on a lot of the stuff that Jay's already brought up, but I guess just give you some sort of practical examples that we've hit. So I'll go into a little bit of detail on BioShock and how our approach to using the engine has changed since that title. And then I'll just finish off with some sort of gotchas that we've learnt over the years. So many clicks. 2K Australia was started about 9 years ago. We were originally known as Irrational Games until we got acquired by 2K a few years ago. Our first Unreal title was Tribe's Vengeance. And basically we've been using the engine for all our titles since then. So for SWAT 4 and BioShock, 2K Australia was largely a technology provider, and we did a lot of the core engine work on those titles. Currently, we're working on an unannounced title that's again using Unreal, and this time is being done largely in-house. So the way we sort of structure the team is to have a core technology team and a game team. For SWAT 4 and BioShock, obviously the core tech team was here in Australia and the game team was over in our Boston office. The tech team maintains the engine, adds new features, integrates bug fixes from Epic, all that kind of low-level stuff. They're actually somewhat independent from the game team, but they still make sure they hit all the major schedule requirements that the game team has. Originally this split was by necessity, just because of the fact that development was going on in 2 different offices, but we found it worked really well, so it's something we're continuing to do for our current in-house title. So why do we keep using Unreal? As Jay's already mentioned, it lets you get up and running really quickly. Basically, you can install it and from day one have content people churning out content, testing it in-game, all that kind of stuff. In the meantime, your coders can start sketching out the gameplay straight away without having to worry about dealing with any of the low-level engine or tool stuff. It's multiplayer and multi-platform out of the box, which is obviously a good thing. The content tools are really quite powerful, and what I mean by that is they don't really need much coder interaction. Your content guys can really produce a lot of stuff without ever needing a line of code written. And an example is the scripting system where designers can really do some quite complex gameplay logic without needing a coder. So one of the reasons that it's able to provide all these features is that it's not just a set of isolated libraries like most middleware. It's actually an entire self-contained code base that has like the engine code, game code, editor code, all the tools kind of built in. And what you do to make your own game is basically take this big chunk of code from Epic and then just add your own sort of, extend it and modify it to add your own game-specific requirements. And while this has many advantages, it also means that to get all the new features that Epic are working on, you have to go through this process where you take Epic's latest version of the code and have to like integrate it and merge it with your own custom version of the code base. and effectively managing this process is really one of the fundamental requirements